So, my work is all about making gourmet choices in every area of your life. Specifically your health, because let's face it, without our health and the well-being and the inner happiness that comes from that, it's very difficult to do anything else. It's very difficult to be a grown-up. It's difficult to be in a partnership, whether that's business or a personal relationship. It's very hard to function in the world if you don't have full health. So, I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned over the years. As Elaine said, we've both been at this for 20 years or more. Very, very briefly, I was a teacher in an earlier life, the only proper job I ever had. And so coming back into school is rather sweet, although this one is a way, way more of an upgrade than I ever experienced in Derbyshire. I taught fine art and textiles until I was fortunate enough to be invited to be part of the body shop empire in the very early days with Anita Roddick. And that was the ride of my life, you can imagine. This sort of shy little school teacher who stepped into an enormously powerful business, although of course it wasn't a household name in those days, it was just a little cupboard on Green Lane in Derby. I don't know whether that means anything to any of you. So that's when my trajectory really changed, and I'd already been vegetarian for a number of years and I was very interested in natural health. So that really gave me the platform and it gave me the lifestyle really and the opportunity to learn more. And I would spend 2-3 evenings a week talking with women's groups usually, although some of the mixed groups, about health and well-being. And I always wanted to go deeper. But of course I was representing a company, and although we had chamomile shampoo and aloe vera and all of that, which was pretty marvellous, and that all started in 1976, so the world wasn't really ready for it. Although I was celebrating that natural way of working, I just wanted to go deeper. So that's what I did, and as Body Shop became more corporate over the years, I started my own healing journey. I disappeared off to Bristol because you couldn't walk down the road and learn Reiki or get massage or anything in those days. And I went to Bristol to learn Chinese medicine. So that's where it all started. And over the subsequent years, I've travelled all over the world. I've been extremely blessed to sit with shamanic practitioners, mystics, and all sorts of extraordinary people in some very, very tricky places. I don't always look like this. And my life changed considerably. And it helped me to make sense of the world. Because let's bring this back. When we're born, we come in with so many of our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors' traits and characteristics. Now, as Elaine said, and she's absolutely right, the genetics that we actually have are only 5% of our makeup. The rest is environment. So we'll come back to that in a few moments. The point I'm making is we come into the world with a lot of issues, traumas, beliefs, and a lot of the DNA of our ancestors. Of course we do. We come down that line. And the world doesn't make sense to us because we have something going on that isn't even ours. And I'll give you an illustration. When I was about 7 at school, I don't know whether some of you will be old enough to remember queuing up to see the knit nurse, and it usually happened in the stationery cupboard at the back. So there I was in the queue, very quiet, and one knit nurse turned to the other and said, "Oh, she has the weight of the world on her shoulders." And I just thought, yeah, that's who I am. I was intrigued that they saw it that way. But the point I'm making is that was my normal, to feel burdened and quiet and heavy, really. And I knew that the world didn't make sense to me. It's just that this was the first time that it had ever been pointed out and recognised by someone else, and an adult at that. So, again, second point we'll come back to. As children, the world doesn't really make sense to us. We do what we're told, mostly, or we rebel, and then all sorts of other events are triggered. So, when we have a calmer, more healthy body, an inner environment that we can nurture ourselves, and obviously parents can offer that to their children once they wise up and really work out what's happening, then not only our bodies, but our brain, which of course is the instrument that tells us what's going on and whether or not there's anything wrong, and often if there is anything wrong, we don't know because our brain isn't registering it. So the stress factor is implicit as soon as we come into the world. We're stressed. We're taken from our mothers too soon. We're wrapped in a fabric that's probably an acrylic blanket or a cotton polyester sheet, something that's got lots of chemicals in it. Our microbiome is beginning to be damaged from the very first moment we come into the world. And it's the microbiome that really gives us, it is the barometer of how healthy and how happy we are. And of course, we now live in a culture where health, happiness, well-being is everywhere. Mindfulness, the whole thing. They've become buzzwords, whereas, again, Elaine and I have been doing this work for a very long time. When I used to talk to people about what I did, if they were kind enough to ask me at a party, someone would say, "What you do?" And I say, "Oh, I teach people to meditate," because that was the phrase I was comfortable with. They would either roll their eyes and walk away, or they'd just consider me to be some sort of bonkers blonde. And now, of course, everything's changed. People might say, "Well, what kind of meditation do you teach?" Or, "Oh, I meditate," and they'll go on to tell me all about themselves. So there are three elements to my work, three elements that I offer, which I believe cover pretty much everything. First of all, it's the stress release on a day-to-day basis that we all so desperately need. We are all stressed, some more than others. And okay, stress can be a good thing. We need that talk in our lives, T-O-U-T-O, whatever it is, the tightness that actually gets us up in the morning and that reason to be alive and to keep going. That's all the stress we need. Occasionally things will happen in life that do increase our stress. A loved one may be ill. All of the classics, moving home, losing a partner, that sort of thing. That's very, very stressful. But you see around you that stress has become an addiction. 20-somethings, teenagers talk about stress 30 times a day. That didn't happen when we were young. That never happened. Stress was hardly ever mentioned. So what is it about our environment, our world today, that keeps everyone stressed? Well, a large amount of that stress comes from all of the toxins, the pollution that's around us. Constant Wi-Fi, wall-to-wall electromagnetic frequencies from somebody else's mobile phone if it's not your own. By the way, who switches their Wi-Fi off at night? Yes, good. Get into the habit of doing so. Just flick it at the switch where the main socket is where the main plug is. And just make it a habit, like cleaning your teeth before you go to bed. Switch it on again in the morning. If you have teenagers, train them and help them to understand that the electromagnetic frequencies that are bombarding our bodies and our microbiome on a moment-by-moment basis are killing us. I used to say killing us slowly. Now they're actually killing us quite quickly. And when 5G comes in, that will be the frequency that they use in riot control in certain parts of the world already. It's a frequency that literally burns your skin and makes you feel so uncomfortable you just get out of the way. That's 5G and it's coming. So we need to really ramp up the protection that we have in our homes, and not only that, of course, look after our bodies, protect our brains with a few of the things I'm going to talk to you about. So, stress release on a day-to-day basis. Don't wait till the weekend to have a lie-in. Adopt a practice that is twice a day if you can, and at least once a day, of choosing to be silent. That voluntary silence will actually calm and clear your body and your brain very, very quickly. The kindest thing you can do for yourself is to breathe deeply. Shall we have a go? You're thinking, some of you are thinking, well, I'm breathing all the time. Yes, of course you are, but are you not breathing in quite a shallow way? And it doesn't take a genius to work out that when you're stressed, your breathing is actually very shallow. So if you're not breathing deeply and fully emptying your lungs every time you exhale, there's going to be a collection of toxins and goo at the base of your lungs, which is going to make you feel poorly, if not this day, then the next. So I invite you to just put down your notes, sit with your legs uncrossed, and just allow them to fall away from each other slightly. No one's looking. Close your eyes. I'm not going to mention phones. I'm trusting you that you've all turned off your phone. Close your eyes, close your mouth, and allow your teeth to fall apart slightly. So your tongue is resting in your lower palate. And all of you wonderful women who are used to holding your tummy in, let it go. No one is watching. So, be aware of your breath as it travels across your top lip and into your nostrils. And as you breathe out, be aware of your breath in the opposite direction. Allow your breathing to be slightly longer, slightly softer, and relax. The kindest thing you can do for yourself is to breathe more deeply. It calms your nervous system, it soothes your mind, and it's the fastest way to feel better, even though you're slowing down. Allow your breath to be soft and easy, and turn your attention to your heartbeat. You may want to place your hand on your heart, or on your pulse at the wrist, or a good pulse is on the right-hand side of your neck, just below your jawline. Just to get a sense of your heartbeat. And on your next inhalation, count how many heartbeats it takes for that inhalation to happen. And then count the heartbeats as you breathe out. And notice, just notice, how many. Nothing right or wrong, it's just a noticing. On your next inhalation, imagine that breath circling around the inside of your head, nourishing your brain, clearing out the cobwebs, dissolving the brain fog. And as you breathe out, imagine all of that fog and the cobwebs releasing. And the rhythm of your breath from now on, for the next few moments, will give you that cleansing and nurturing experience. Breathing in, imagining your breath massaging the inside of your head, and breathing out, releasing all that no longer serves you. Feel your shoulders relax. Feel the middle part of your body soften. Scan your body to make sure that you're not holding yourself in a position that requires work. Keep it soft. And now turn your attention to your feet. If you've been holding your pulse, then allow your hands to fall back into your lap. And rather than clasping your hands, allow them to fall away from each other. Every part of your being is softening and yielding. And sounds that come into the room are just part of the experience. So focusing on your feet, that incredible engineering, the fine bone structure, your toes, your ankles, just allow them to relax. And very, very gently allow your attention to flow through your ankles, incredible hinges that keep us moving every day. Along the lower part of your legs, imagine those two main bones falling apart from each other, dividing a little as you ease and relax. And follow the line of your legs through your knees, through your thigh bones to your pelvis. That incredibly powerful triangle that keeps us upright and supports our position. Allow yourself to focus on your torso, all of your vital organs closely nuzzling side by side, easing a little as you relax. And then flowing up to your neck and shoulders. Imagine your shoulders like huge wings sliding a little further down your back. And all of the stress, the toxicity, that which no longer serves you, can leave on every exhalation, layer by layer by layer. Allow your arms to be heavy and your hands in your lap. Imagine your breath reaching your fingertips, nourishing the fine bones in your hands. Again, incredible dexterity. Our bodies are extraordinary. Follow the line back through your arms, your elbows. Allow the breath to circle your elbows back to your shoulders and to your precious neck, effortlessly supporting your head. Your eyes are resting in your sockets like ripe fruits. Your tongue is resting behind your lower teeth. And for just one moment, turn your attention to the root of your tongue, deep in your throat. And again, just notice how it feels. If there's irritation there or any sensation, it could be that there are words to be spoken that are difficult. When we speak our truth in life, then the root of our tongue rests calmly in the throat. Again, it's a noticing. And then allow your attention to float through to the crown of your head. And now you've made some space with all of those exhalations. Have a sense that the crown of your head is the focus of your breathing. So you can draw something in through the crown of your head that's a higher vibration. Makes no difference whether you have a religious faith or prefer no faith or hold a spiritual place. However you choose to be in the world, this voluntary silence is calming your nervous system, soothing your mind, and changing the way you feel. So to complete, focus on the crown of your head as you breathe in, and focus on the soles of your feet as you breathe out. And if you take nothing more from this, that simple focus will help you to lift your spirit, raise your level of happiness, and feel calmer and far less likely to crave the wrong foods or drugs or cigarettes, whatever is your thing or whatever was your thing. So very, very gently, keeping your eyes closed, move your fingers and toes a little, just to indicate to your body that you're ready to come out of this little experience. And again, keeping your eyes closed, slowly, gently, allow your body to resume its natural breathing pattern. It takes a while to go into that place where you are calm and quiet, so always come out slowly as well. And when you do feel ready to open your eyes, keep your gaze low and just invite yourself back to the here and now. That was just a few moments, and your body will soon get to know 20 minutes. It will recognize 20 minutes. Not a great idea to set an alarm, because of course that can jolt you out of hopefully a blissful situation. And as I said, if you do have a religious faith and a belief system that is aligned to a particular sect, that comes with you into your meditation. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. This meditation is simply about you, your heartbeat, and your breath. It's that simple. So I hope that that's helped and that you can try for even 5 minutes of voluntary silence early in the day. When you're awake, maybe sitting up in bed before you really get up and start your day, but be sitting up, otherwise you'll probably fall asleep again. So, what does meditation do for us? It does many, many things. It increases the oxygen flow. It helps us to release any debris in the lungs. It also helps to oxygenate our brain, because as we breathe deeply, we will actually enliven and we will start to wake up. Brain fog is a massive problem these days, not least because of all the pollution that I alluded to a little while ago. It's a massive problem because so many people are subject to other people's cigarette smoke, environments where there's no fresh air, there's no pure air. We've already talked about Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. These are easy ways that you can actually release stress on a day-to-day basis. Excuse me. And what does it take to release something more than the stress? Because obviously stress creates a huge amount of problems in our bodies. A lot of the deep, even the worst kind of illnesses that we have are the result of acute stress and lifestyle choices. Now that's massive because it's our whole life. It's our relationships, it's our food, it's where we live, it's where we work, it's how we choose to think. And this slide, I don't know whether you can see it. I will read it. I was determined I wasn't going to just stand here and read what was obvious to you, but because of the lighting, I will read it. It says, your beliefs and thoughts are wired into your biology. They become your cells' tissues and organs. There is no supplement, no diet, no medicine, and no exercise regime that can compare with the power of your thoughts and beliefs. And that's a quote from Dr. Christiane Northrup. I don't know whether you're familiar with her work. She's an American doctor, a mature woman who worked for many, many years in gynecology. And she says she knows everything that can go right with a woman's body. Now, this is not just for women, obviously, this presentation is for everyone. The point I'm making, though, is that this is the essence of how we need to focus ourselves on what we think, what we believe, and how we choose to react. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. There's nothing particularly outrageous about it. A belief is a thought that you keep thinking. Although, of course, thoughts that you think are often instilled in very, very early life. So we've been thinking in a particular way since childhood. And as Elaine said, give me the child until he's 7 years old and I'll show you the man. Absolutely right. How many of your thoughts and your beliefs were instilled at a very early age? In other words, can you actually remember when they landed with you? Probably not. So that's just something to be mindful of. And our biology is wired in to our cellular regime. When we choose voluntary silence, deep restorative meditation, and you could be walking in nature, you could be in your garden, you could be riding your bike. You don't have to be sitting cross-legged on the floor, or even in an armchair or in bed, and both of those are fine too. When you choose to really deepen and understand what is held, not just at the base of your lungs, what is held in every single cell of your body as a result of trauma and stress, you then see the seeds of your condition. And let's face it, we all have a condition, whether we're just a bit tired and we've got brain fog, our hormones are out of whack, or whether we've had an extremely frightening diagnosis. We all have something that's going on in our bodies. So, in choosing to create an emotional balance, you actually release the core of the problem. So in every one of our something like 70 trillion cells, that's a heck of a lot, there's the blueprint of who we are. And in that blueprint is always the seed of our wellness or the seed of our illness. So in allowing the stress and the trauma, sometimes from childhood, sometimes from before we were born, as I explained earlier, we come in with all this trauma and so on from our ancestors. In allowing that to release in a much deeper experience, you actually stop the cellular reproduction reproducing the trauma. Just a quick example, if a young child, let's say of around 4 years of age, gets lost in a big store, John Lewis in Leicester, for example, the child is having a great adventure for the first few minutes. The mother is frantic. The mother then gets angry, probably with herself, but the anger is just there. She calls security. The child's still having a whale of a time. Eventually, the child gets a bit fed up and realises that they've lost their mum. So the child is sort of dragged back to its mother eventually. The mother is beside herself with fear and anxiety and really lays into this child about, don't you dare do that again. In other words, she's choosing to feel incredibly stressed because her child is gone, understandably. The child then, terrified, embarrassed, ashamed because of the way mum is behaving, gets the notion and sort of signs up to the idea that I will never ever wander off and have any more adventures for the rest of my life. I will always follow the middle path. I will behave, I will do as I'm told. In other words, they're closing themselves down at that very young age because they've had a traumatic experience just because they fancied wandering off and having a look at what was over there. Oh, it's bright and shiny and I want to go and see it, because a 4-year-old would do that. So that's just an example of a trauma that's not so terrible. Obviously, there are far worse traumas to be holding, but that's just an example that could have happened to any of us. That child has then signed up to a very mediocre life, never taking a risk, never being adventurous, and never ever taking anything other than the middle path. And as Elaine was saying, when we stay quiet, we put up, we never really speak our heart's truth, we go along with what other people expect of us, we allow things to happen to us, we don't actually feel courageous enough or confident enough to say what we want, if indeed we know what we want, then all of that disempowerment and that disappointment and frustration is packed into every one of those 70 trillion cells. And if it's allowed to continue with, of course, more upsets, disappointments, traumas, we've all had our hearts broken. We've all had pain and deep loss in our lives. When you add all of those really normal traumatic events and we don't express or release them and we keep piling junk food, toxic relationships, cell phone fallout, the whole thing, those toxins in our cells become acute and they will continue to grow and fester and get worse and worse and worse until either we sort ourselves out and we switch our food, our relationships, our lifestyles to support us, or they will start screaming at us with a horrible diagnosis. In other words, our bodies are always trying to tell us what's going on. And the reason we meditate is so that we can hear those signals. You tune into yourself. So if we're not hearing the whispers as we meditate, are we going to hear our bodies chatter? And the body's chatter is more like colds, flu, viruses, medium grade disturbances in our health. That's our body talking to us. If we don't listen to that, things get worse. And then our body has to start shouting at us. Accidents, loss, being made redundant, having a relationship end by the choice of the other person. All of this is our body actually shouting at us. Then if we don't listen, it starts to scream. And when it screams, that's when the life-threatening situations manifest. It's not difficult, it's not rocket science. We've been bred and led into a world where big pharmaceutical companies dominate. Advertising and media tell us that we need this or that, Xanax, ibuprofen, you name it, some drug that will do something for any part of us. And a cosmetics industry, for example, for men and women, that is ruining our microbiome by giving us 5,000 toxic chemicals on and in our bodies before we even leave the house in the morning. So all of this, layer by layer by layer, is what you need to peel away, get clean, choose your food wisely, choose your experiences well, choose your friends and relationships well, audition people for your life. You don't have to have the neighbour who is always complaining coming round for coffee every morning. For a start, drop the coffee and then change the relationship with your neighbour. I really want a sign on my front door that says no junk mail and no complaining. And it's a very powerful choice to stop complaining, to choose a better feeling, to choose a better way of expressing yourself. Back to this, I don't know whether you can see it, but it transcends all of the lifestyle choices. I'm not suggesting you do eat chips and pizza, but my point is, even with the healthiest lifestyle, you still control your own microbiome, your own brain and wellness by complaining, by using negative language, by holding on to relationships and situations that don't serve you. It does take a drastic action. You can do it gently and elegantly, and you'll find a way to allow those relationships to leave your life. And that's different for everyone. The point I'm making is you deserve to feel amazing. We all have a birthright of highest level health, vitality, well-being, and blissful happiness. It might sound like a cloud cuckoo land statement. The point is, we do have that birthright. Each of us have it. And the choices we make are going to influence how that becomes a reality. Now, because I don't know where you're all from, I'm going to make an assumption here, which is that most of us are European or English, and we have this kind of reserve, this sort of reserve where we don't really say what's going on because we're too polite. And we allow relationships to happen to us, we allow situations to happen to us. As I said, audition people for your life. Make that choice. Be bold. How much longer do you want to spend being tired, having brain fog that's just annihilating and you can't make a decision, then you spend 3 weeks cleaning up after the bad decision you made? If you don't like something, change it. There's always a way. And although there are many, many sort of alternative complementary practices and so on out there, and there are, and that's a good thing because people are gradually waking up, the time has come, it doesn't stop you trusting your own intuition. That is the key to this. So choose organic food, choose not to eat as much meat, choose to have something that pleases and delights you in your home. Make the changes that really support you. Don't put up and shut up, because that is the way for something that's already in your body with the potential to grow worse. That's the fastest way to accelerate that spread. And yes, it may mean drastic changes, although they generally happen slowly and gently. And you're in charge, that's the point. So, I just want to tell you a little bit about how extraordinary some of the food as medicine support systems are out there. I want to mention 3 things. First of all, the opportunity not to have meat and dairy. Most of you will know about this, I think. Dairy is a very, very fast-track way to heart disease, heart problems. It's a really toxic and cruel industry, and dairy will very quickly enhance heart conditions. It's not a cholesterol thing, as Elaine said. We haven't got time to go into this today, but it's not a cholesterol issue. It's about the toxicity and the dreadfulness, for want of a better word, of the dairy industry. Massive factor in heart disease. And the meat industry. Again, you're eating hormones, growth stimulants, antibiotics, anything else that those poor creatures have been injected with is in the meat. And even if it's organic meat, that meat holds the cortisol and all the stress hormones that the creature emits because it knows it's going to its death. Now, I'm sorry for those of you who feel you're looking forward to a steak later on today. Eat it if you wish. It's not my choice. It's entirely up to you. I'm just making the point that we don't need to live with animal products as our staple food. There are many, many vegan and vegetarian choices. Look at Viva, V-I-V-A. That's a very powerful vegan society. One big thing about veganism, great if that's your choice. Personally, I don't really like to fall into a category. I like to choose what I'm eating depending on how I'm feeling, although I haven't eaten meat for 40 years. But the point I'm making is not all vegan food is healthy. If you go to the vegan fairs, there are some very pasty looking people there, bless them. I remember going to the first vegan fair years ago in Kensington High Street in the town hall there. I walked up the steps and there was a very sort of ageless young man. I suspect he was a lot younger than he looked. He was extremely thin, which may have been his type, but he was painfully thin, with a dog on a piece of string and a fag, little fag, like that. And I just thought, wow, is that's what it looks like then, is it, to be a vegan? And please forgive me, I don't mean to be rude. It was just that vision has stayed with me for all these years. And I walked in and there was a crowd of about, 200 people who all looked pretty similar in terms of their pastiness and their poor level of health. So vegan can be great. It can be. It's not necessarily healthy, though, to just choose something vegan in a packet. Half the time, these manufacturers will push something into that food that is anything as long as it's not from an animal. You might as well eat the packet for all the nutrition you're going to get. So choose carefully, choose wisely, cook from scratch, or don't cook, do raw, whatever you want to do. Get some of that beauteous aloe vera into your body, straight from the plant. Put it into a smoothie, don't blend for too long. Make a juice, put aloe vera and avocado in it for breakfast. You'll come alive, your cells will thank you for it. And your body will oxygenate, your brain fog will clear, and then when you've got the skin where the gel has been taken from, massage it into your skin. It's absolutely amazing. I do that every day, and I'm 106, so it works. So there we go. It is about you making choices. Now, I've talked about some fairly heavy-duty stuff today. I often speak about food and get people excited about juicing and organic this and that. The point I'm making is you probably know about all of that, so I'm not going to do Raw Food 101. I want you to understand that it's deeper and yet it's very simple. Not necessarily easy, it's just simple. You choose your thoughts, you choose your reactions, you choose how you live your life. The fundamental choice is, do I take my next breath? Which of course is a subconscious choice. The fact remains though, that's our choice at every moment. So raise your game, step into who you truly are, be someone who understands that they deserve the highest and best in life. Gourmet choices in every area of your life. Hold yourself accountable for those choices. And we now have the technology to upgrade your brain. There is something now called Brain Solutions, which I'm privileged to be part of, and it is literally a series of bionutrients, the kind of bionutrients that our bodies are supposed to generate ourselves, but we don't, of course, because of everything we just talked about, the degradation of our lifestyles and our environment and food, etc. Simply spray some of these under your tongue. It will help you to get 4th grade sleep, which adults don't get. It's only babies that get 4th grade sleep, and it's the 4th grade sleep period that helps you to really regenerate and replenish and to come back from even the worst of diagnoses. It's a whole thing in itself, so another time. I'm here all day. I know I haven't left time for questions, but I am here all day, so I'd be very, very happy to talk with you if you have specific questions. Have we got time for 1 or 2 general questions, or are we going for a break? Okay, just general questions that will serve everyone, please, if anyone has any. If not, that's fine. As I say, I'll be around all day. And the other thing I want to say is that if you're not familiar with chaga, one of the most extraordinary foods as medicine on the planet, then you need to get to some chaga mushroom. It's very simple to take, it tastes great, it has no particular flavour, you can mix it with plenty of other things. It is nature's offering of beta-glucans. And you probably know that if you are dealing with cancer, or anything actually, but let's go for the worst. If you are dealing with cancer, beta-glucans are nature's way of neutralising, we say mutated cells. You know what I mean, cancer cells, I can say that in this room. So chaga mushroom, and again, if you want to talk about that, that's absolutely fine. So all of these issues are worthy of 45 minutes in and of themselves. It's been a lifetime's experience. I've been incredibly privileged to have developed over the last 25 years or so with all these experiences and bringing it home to the East Midlands, which feels very good. So I hope that's been of interest. I hope it's pushed a few buttons, because that was the idea, to do it gently and lovingly. And I'm around all day if you'd like to chat. So thank you very much.